The stakeholders of the business is a big topic. There's a lot of potential questions, well, not that many questions, but a lot of different ways of asking it. And they are describe, explain, or outline the interests of the stakeholders of the business. Describe or explain or outline how the interest of one stakeholder may be in conflict with those of another one. And describe or explain how the interests of the stakeholders may have been affected by a certain event. So on an exam, it was a while ago, it was in a previous study design, but for example, there was a technology breakdown for a business. How would that impact the stakeholders? And lastly, we've got to consider the corporate social responsibility considerations for each of the stakeholders. So just to start from the beginning, what's a stakeholder? It's an individual or group that has a direct or vested interest in the activities of the business. So we say their activities affect the business, but also the activities of the business affect them. And what we did was we sort of grouped it into these different levels of environment. We do not need to know these. These used to be a part of the old study design where we broke them into macro, broad factors that affect all businesses, operating, factors just in our industry, or internal factors within our business. We don't need to know that, but it does help us sort of categorize each of these and say there's government, community in the macro, and these customers, suppliers, competitors, creditors, bank in the operating, and then we got shareholders, board of directors, management, and employees in the internal environment. And all we're going to do for each one is consider the corporate social responsibility issues, and maybe just a refresher of the definition, the commitment by the business to go above and beyond its legal obligations, to conduct its business in an ethical manner, take responsibility for its actions, and be accountable, and this is the bit that's key here, be accountable to a wide range of stakeholders, not just the shareholders or owners. So for each one, we just got to consider what do they want? What are their interests in the business? Shareholders want the business to make net profits so they can get dividends and capital gains. Conflict going to be with customers, managers, employees, and government. Generally, what's good for this group may not necessarily be good for that group. It'll depend on the case study. Some CSR considerations, so the business is socially responsible, avoid scandals, and to balance the dividends that they get with also doing the right thing. Then we've got the board of directors and management. Let's group them together. They want the business to make profits and for the share price to increase. They want to be able to come up with the strategies and make decisions for that to happen. They want to be well paid, work for an ethical business, receive good workplace conditions if they're management. That could be in conflict with the employees. So for example, if employees want high wages, that might lower profits. Also, the board might want to do things that cost money. That might mean higher prices for customers. CSR considerations, we're going to obey the laws when we deal with not just our managers and shareholders, but all stakeholders. They want to be paid fairly and have good conditions, and they want to be able to make decisions that benefit society. Then we've got the employees, same as management. They want secure employment, fair conditions, career advancement, and an ethical business. Could be in conflict with the shareholders and customers. CSR considerations, paid fairly, good conditions, but to be treated fairly, not just by the law, but that CSR says go above that, and to be provided with assistance and support when needed. Then we get the customers. They want quality goods at a reasonable price. That can be in conflict with what shareholders and employees want. And basically their CSR, not all customers care, but if they do have CSR issues, they're about the way the product is made, whether it damages society, and whether the workers of the business are treated well. Suppliers, not one we think about a lot, but we think that they want to be profitable. They want to be a preferred supplier and be paid promptly by the business. That can be in conflict with shareholders and what customers want. And the CSR considerations, to use suppliers that are ethical, and we want the business to treat suppliers in an ethical way. Competitors, they want to beat our business, differentiate, and they also compare and evaluate their performance against ours. That can be in conflict with what the shareholders and employees want. CSR considerations, don't do anything unethical to beat the competition, and don't do anything unethical to harm customers, such as illegally colluding to drive down prices. Then we've got the creditors or banks. They want to be able to lend to the business and make sure they get paid back. That can often be in conflict with what shareholders and customers want. The CSR considerations, they want to be treated in an ethical way. They are suppliers just of money, so you can count them as suppliers too. And maybe borrow from businesses that are not unethical as well. The government, they want to receive taxes from their business, provide incentives to it so they stay here. They want to make the laws that the business follows, and they want to provide it with assistance to make sure it succeeds. That can be in conflict with what shareholders, employees, and customers often want. For example, taxes go up, good for the government, bad for all of these. CSR considerations, to pay the correct or fair amount of tax, provide jobs for the local community, and to obey the laws of the country. And lastly, the local community and society. They want to benefit from employment opportunities, for the business to participate in its local community and do no harm and make sure it's an ethical and socially responsible business. That can be in conflict with what shareholders and employees often want. And the CSR considerations for them are don't damage the local environment with pollution and so on. Provide the local community with opportunities to get jobs and improve their lives. Treat them in an ethical way and obey the local laws in our